Hello and welcome back to another EDH deck design. Today I'm going to be going over something that I kind of just threw together. I had a Thermok deck, if you saw that video. I also used to have a Yumi Last Visitor mono green deck. I decided to go ahead and start pitching some cards, and with the excess I had enough to build one more deck. So being that I randomly and not very consistently play green, maybe every other year or something, decided to just go ahead and keep these cards. I went ahead and put a deck together. I'm running Sapling right now. The initial idea was actually to run Sisters. I really like Gorgon Tribal. The initial idea with Sisters was to do a sword Voltron deck that it was pure ramp into a giant Genesis wave, and then have all the equipment on the Gorgons. And like I even have all the Gorgons and everything to go and do it. Because I've been collecting them for a while. But for a more competitive style deck, I decided to shrink it down, make it a bit more consistent and resilient. So we have Sapling. This is a kind of a rare general to see. I think a lot of people just don't know she exists, because when you do search for generals, you do it by a mana caller, and searching by hybrid on gather is a little awkward sometimes. But Sapling here is a 5 mana costing green-black general. So it's 3 and a hybrid, and she's a 2/5 indestructible creature when she is declared as an attacker, although I may reveal the top card of my deck. If it's a creature, then I gain life per the toughness, lose life per the power, and then put it into my hand. So, for example, if I were to reveal Doran, I would gain 5 and lose 0. If I were to reveal like a Solemn Simulacrum, I would net no life gain. But it still triggers things that cause life gain and loss. But it's also essentially a drawing machine. I had originally wanted to do a deck with 50 creatures in it, literally a 50% chance of drawing off Sapling. But after thinning and tweaking a little bit there, relying on her as the draw engine and excluding more non-creature spells was not actually good. The initial goal was to get Sapling out on turn 3. But I've changed that a little bit. I was originally running the Llanowar Elves too, but we're only running 2 1-drop creatures that tap for mana, and there's a Soul Ring in this deck, so I have essentially 3 permanents that allow me to do a 3 mana costing ramp spell on turn 2, which would then allow for Sapling on turn 3. But I'm only running those 2 now. Then we have just lots of ways of getting good value. So if there's not a creature on top of my deck, Oracle will help me rip the lands. A lot of this is just massive ramp. So you've seen a lot of these before. These are pretty commonly placed cards. So these guys essentially help me get lands when they die. Then I have 8 cards that enter the battlefield and get me a land straight into play. And there's a lot of them here. They all literally just do the same thing. Some of them require forest, some of them just say land. Doesn't matter, I'm a playing 2-color deck, so I don't really need a lot of help fixing it. Finally got my Fallen Shaman back, so I could actually do some more tutorage. This is something I really wanted in my Thermok deck, but never got around to finding. Ewits, of course, Ewit. Fierce Empath is perfect for tutoring up a combo piece or something required. Brutalizer Exarch's great for tucking a land, or again, searching for a specific card to put on top of my deck, so I can flip it with Sapling. Then we have the 2 card draw guys, one that when you cast and whenever one enters. So like this one, for example, if I have a Birthing Pot out, it still draws me a card. This one just draws me lots, usually per the number I have out. Sometimes he whiffs and I only get 1 or 2. This is something that, like, for example, you kind of want to tutor for every now and then. Unlike my Thermok deck, this one actually has a fair amount of enchantments and artifacts, so I do have to be careful with them. I really hate, like I was actually going to run the Lurking Predators in here, but just for the odd chance of hitting him off Lurking Predators, I decided to take that out. There's your normal acidic slime. Again, lots of these are just new staples. The new cards is really good. I like this one a lot. There's the original one that kind of did. I had a mold shambler in here too originally, but the kicker cost, I can't pay that from tricking it into play, so I took that out. Woodfall is kind of your normal enter destroy. Turdastodon is your good stuff enter destroy. Then there's your just a typical win condition green. Since this is a combat deck and Sapling herself is only 2 power, I do have to have lots of ways of getting my creatures bigger. Let's see. This is just like the Oracle. This is another way of kind of tinkering with the top of my deck. To some extent, it's card advantage. This is probably going to be one of the first creatures I cut because he is essentially just a 7/7 trample. The ability to play creatures off the top is nice. There's a lot of ways in this deck to top deck manipulate, so I can take advantage of her as much as possible. So I'm not too sure if this will stay. It's a nice effect. It's a very expensive effect to get him out, though. I mean, you could have the Future Sight and kind of have a better mana cost, but this guy has a swinging body, I suppose. So all that was green. I am running black, of course. That gives me a lot of really good effects, like a Grave Pact effect on a flyer. There's a few ways of searching up creatures' instant speed, although they mostly require green creatures. But he's still a really good effect to have. I have a lot of ramps, so having a giant mana pool with Drana is really good for removal. I think my only target removal, really. Then we're, of course, playing a mass creature deck, so there's going to be a lot of stuff in my graveyard, so I like the Genesis to get stuff back. Then we have the Clicks and the Sheoldred, the two pre-orders. Both of them are really good. Again, this is a big mana deck. I want to do a Genesis wave for a whole bunch of Warren Clicks is a good doubler. Then we do have one combo in the deck, which is Mike and Trike. And again, these two might not last. I just don't like instant combos. The only reason I'm kind of running this right now is in my play group, it's just riddled with combo decks. Like, well, one of my play groups. Another play group that's really close to where I live, about 3 out of the 4 players all have Tooth and Nail decks where they just, if Tooth and Nail resolves, you win. So I kind of had to have something up to it. Although, to be honest, I don't know. I just don't like infinite laws. So I'll probably take these guys out. But I am ramping a whole bunch and possibly drawing a whole bunch. There's a lot of draw tech coming up. So I'm running the Eldrazi Bros so I can maybe not lose my deck. But also, I have lots of mana, so they'll probably land eventually. Let's go on to the spells and everything else. So there was 39 creatures in our general, so 40 creatures. I'm 10 shy of what I originally wanted. Since I'm not gaining the advantage I originally wanted off Sapling, not 50% chance to draw, I may switch over to Sisters for more of a control style, but I'm going to run it for a little bit like this first. So for tutors, I'm missing a Vampire Tutor, which again is really good with Sapling, because I can just essentially draw the hand if I declare her. Whirly Tutor is the same thing for only creatures. I just don't lose life. This is the big spell of the deck. I was going to run Exsanguinate also. I ended up putting that in another deck, but this is the big one. The sad thing is I do have a fair amount of spells in here, so this may whiff a few. Again, I don't like Arbor, Elf, whatever the stupid land is, but I mean, I can get any green creature out of the deck. This is usually just going to help me ramp up a little bit more. This is one where I can try to get like Mikaeus in response to a board wipe, where I can maybe get something like the Butcher Malakir to screw someone else over. Again, having like so many ways of tutoring creatures straight in play, the instant speed one makes me want to keep this and maybe take this one out. But because again, I'm running Genesis Wave, I don't want as many spells here. I don't know, they're both really good. It was kind of hard to make some cuts here. For example, Natural Order is a strict tutor where I can just, sorcery speed that is, sack a green thing, get a green thing. So this could be something big and nasty really early. Then there's the Epitome of the Tutors. Something, again, I'm on the fence about if I actually want to run. It's just, in the meta where I'm probably going to be playing this the most, it's most likely necessary to keep it in the deck. Then we have the good ramps. These two are nice 3-drop ramps. And the only other spell is Boundless Realms. So I only have 3 spells, not like creatures that enter to ramp me. I took a lot of that out, since a lot of the other stuff in the deck its mana cost is around 5 to 6 when it starts getting good. So I kind of wanted to have a better board presence instead of just keep ramping and ramping. But of course she really likes to have the manipulation of the top of your deck, so top actually fits in this one very well. Then we have Silvering. This is a gimmick card that kind of goes with her. Since life, she does have a life gain effect that can trigger every single turn. Even if the net gain is 0, I'm still gaining life, so this will still trigger and allow me to draw cards. Then there's the Birthing Pod, of course. And the rest of these are just your normal kind of enchantments for green-black. The Arena is just for slow draw. This is really fun on her because she's indestructible, and giving her +2/+2 Death Touch and Lure means I can board wipe someone who doesn't have a tapped creature. This usually gets dealt with very quickly. Our only technical board wipe. This is another top deck manipulation tech. Again, I actually like Sylvan Library. I know it's not all what green is supposed to be doing, but it gives me the Miri's Guile effect, where I can look at the top 3 cards of my deck, and I can rearrange them. So if I'm going to declare with her, I can draw an extra creature without taking the 4 damage, or I can just keep pulling them off the deck. Survival is your basically the best tutorage that green can have. And this is a reason kind of run to Genesis, so you can ditch Genesis and start tutoring up better creatures. Defense is another combo piece that may not last in the deck. This is something that can land very early and just in games. Again, it's usually dealt with if your opponent's smart. If the opponent can't deal with it, they usually get unhappy because it's a cheap win. But probably the best draw tech in green. Mana Reflection is probably not necessary other than the Genesis Wave tech. So this it's such a powerful effect. I don't know if this is going to stay or not, since I usually, from what I've play tested so far, I have no problem getting up to 10 mana, and very few things in my deck cost more than 10, and by the time I'm casting 1 a turn, it's usually overwhelming. But having the double effect here of this and Vorinclex may be worth keeping it. I'm running Vraska because I like her and she is awesome. I like vindicating things that are not lands, I already have a nice boost to keep her safe, so I can usually just keep her alive for a very long time. Don't really care about the ultimate, it's just a repeatable destroy. Garruk is probably our second best drawing mechanic, since a very big chunk of the deck is creatures. And past that, we're on to the lands. There are only 37 lands in the deck. Since I have a tendency to draw a lot and ramp a lot, I didn't need to kind of tinker with too many of them. I'm actually missing a lot. I've done very little work with the land package here, so this is just to fix it. I'm going to get a coffers to go with this as well, probably an expedition map, so I can guarantee one or the other, just to help regenerate a creature and to help get some free value. Again, it's very easy to get a big creature or total cumulative power on the board. And the rest of these are just your standard lands. I'm testing these out, well, not testing. I'm seeing how I actually enjoy the artwork on these. I've always liked a lot of purple, so I may end up keeping these swamps or collecting foilies. This one, although since I rarely play green, I don't know if it's really going to be worthwhile for me to go out and start collecting the full versions of it. But this one's just beautiful. But so far, only 3 non-basics. There's a lot of really good non-basics I can get. Could probably even put in like an overgrown tomb, I suppose, since it's a force, I can fetch it. But very few cards in the deck are actually black and require black, and since I'm ramping so much, it's not really necessary. Here's a couple cards I was considering running, or I had just recently cut. Again, the Lanoir was another 1-drop that could enable a turn 2 ramp into a turn 3 sapling. I think it was not really necessary. Sapling herself is nice card draw, but ramping into that as a focus is not necessary. As you saw, there's lots of draw and ramp in the deck already, so it's probably not necessary. Craterhoof really should be in the deck. I just don't like Craterhoof. I'm tired of seeing Craterhoof. It is such an annoying thing. Like, it's such a cheesy win, even more cheesy than like Mycontrike or Tooth and Nailing into 2 Eldrazi, because that gives someone a chance. This usually doesn't give anyone a chance. Like, it's a powerful effect, it usually wins games, but I'm personally just tired of seeing it. Steel Hawkeye is kind of your generic filler. I think this is one of the first cards replaced. Same with the Erebos. He's not actually going to be a creature, he's just a slow draw mechanic. This is something that actually goes fun with Sapling. If I had focused on Sapling again, maybe if I had 55 or more creatures or around that area, again, it causes a life gain effect here. So I could actually use Sanguine Bond's trigger to start hitting the opponents for the toughness of every single creature I draw from Sapling. So that could be like if I draw Erebos, gonna hit you for 7. Literally, it could be anything. It could also be tiny, like an Llanowar Elves, and only hit you for 1, but it's a thing. But being that it's a 5-mana enchantment, and it only works with just Sapling, it's the only life gain I have in the deck, I didn't think running this and the artifact, both of them at the same time would be beneficial. I wanted one or the other, and the well draws me a lot of cards, so that one went. Garruk's there, he was just normally for card draw. He's kind of like a one-shot card draw, but by the time I can land something for 5 mana, there's just a lot better creatures. I might not want to actually play him. I don't know. He may make his way back in the deck because I do like drawing on greedy. But that is Sapling. Yeah. I mean, most of my green decks do the same thing. They're all ramp into crazy things. And that's kind of... I get bored very quickly with it. I just didn't want to sell all the cards from my Last Visitor deck and my Thermalk deck both. So I'll probably tuck this away and keep it for a reserve. She's kind of fun. I most likely will go back to Sisters, although, because I do like Gorgons. And it's very fun to do a thematic deck. I don't know if I'll do like the Sword Voltron with the Sisters or not. May just use her as control and include a couple of good Gorgons, like the one that board wipes and the one that returns something from graveyard to hand. But for now we're going to run Sapling because she's kind of fun and exotic and very resilient. Being indestructible as your general with a high toughness. It even makes things like a Black Sun Zenith card kind of hard to get rid of her with. But yeah, she's kind of fun. From what I've played with so far, her resiliency is probably the best reason of keeping her. Again, you're not going to win over combat damage with general damage unless you are going to land something like a Crater Hoof. But if you're landing Crater Hoof, you've most likely already won. If you've noticed, I have a new playmat back here. This was given to me from an ex as a Christmas present. Not too sure how I feel about it. It's really nice artwork. I really like the company HCD that does these sleeves. The artwork here is of... They haven't made a sleeve of her yet, but the sleeves of her I use on my Jaleva deck. It's a nice playmat. I'll probably use it for a while, and I'll go right back to my Act of Treason one. But if you have any experience playing Sapling, if you have any funny tech, definitely let me know. The recording for this video is right after... Well, actually, it's like right on New Year's. Tomorrow is New Year's Day 1st. So there's probably lots of new stuff coming out. But anything else, let me know.